Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Live with NORML. I'm Pedini, the Development Director at the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. It's Friday, October 10th, 2025, and we're here in a new space, ready to get back into doing this show with you and catching you all up on the latest and greatest in the cannabis world. Hey, wherever you're watching, first, thanks for joining us. Second, take a quick second to hit that like, follow, or subscribe button so you never miss when NORML goes live. And drop a note in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from and if you have any burning questions this week. Hey, let's take a look and say hello to everybody on Instagram. Thank you. I see you all there. Let's see. Hey, Quinn. Thanks for joining us on Twitter. Hey, Georgia. Thanks for joining us on YouTube. Nick, good to see you, friend. What's going on? Quinn, you're in New Orleans, of course. Hey, Rastaman420 on Instagram is watching from Lehigh Valley, where we have one of our most excellent chapters, Lehigh Valley NORML. Thanks to Jeff Reedy for doing all that work up there. Hey, Coco in the 904. Aloha to you as well, friend. You're in Jacksonville? Let me see. Okay, so Coco asks this question on Instagram. Says, I'm in Jacksonville. Why are so many cannabis social media pages still being disabled after the announcement about the restrictions being lifted? I don't know unless I'm looking at the content on the pages in question. For a long time it was that social content was violating other restrictions like the amount of text and something, but that seems to have gone by the wayside, and then as to why now, I don't know. We have been very fortunate not to be subject to that type of restriction. We do have a verified page on Meta. I'm not certain if that helps or if it's just that we're very mindful of our content. I try to be. But yeah, if you have some examples, let me know. And great question. I'm not certain if it's really specific to cannabis or if it's something else. Could be either, could be both. Nick says nothing in Pennsylvania. Of course, Nick, of course. Hey, EnviroMine, thanks for joining us. Hey, Richard, welcome back. Tom, I can't even. That is, okay, hello. Big shout out to my buddy Tom for joining us and bringing the jokes early. We're definitely going to talk about, let's just talk about it now. So, hey friends, there's an election in Virginia. I mean, lots of states have elections in November or before, but I'm going to actually open up Smoke the Vote so we can take a look at that. But wow, okay, there's a gubernatorial election in Virginia and early voting's already underway. So you can vote now in Virginia for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and for your member in the House of Delegates. Of course, actual election day is November 4th. And last night, while we were at a fundraiser for Virginia NORML, there was a gubernatorial debate. And Abigail Spanberger and Winsome Sears took to the stage and Abigail Spanberger answered questions, and Winsome Earl Sears shouted over her almost the entire time. I will say this, and Tom, you might think this is entertaining if anybody does. So I was at this event, and when I was done presenting, someone had the debate on their open on her phone, but of course the sound was off, so it was just the closed captioning. And it was right before the marijuana question. So when that came up, I was like, great, this is such perfect timing. And I was trying to read the closed captioning, and I was like, wow, this is really terrible closed captioning, because these words just, I kind of get what she's saying. I can see the talking points that Abigail's trying to hit, but why are these extra words in here? Later, I found out it was because the other candidate was shouting at Abigail almost the entire debate. So that was fun. But yeah, I'm satisfied with the answer that Abigail tried to give, given the question she was asked. And Tom, the answer that Lieutenant Governor Sears gave was crazy, but that's to be expected. I believe, and so the quote that Tom is sharing with me in the chat right here is, quote, blow everything up. That's apparently what is going to happen if retail cannabis for adult use is legalized in Virginia and adults 21 and older have access to marijuana. Then employees are apparently going to blow everything up. So you have two choices, Virginia, when you go to the polls now or on election day. There's only two. One will sign that adult use cannabis retail bill into law, has been very clear in her intent to do so, and the other one thinks that cannabis makes you blow things up. Choose wisely. Hey, Kim B, you voted early. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hey, Michelle, thanks for joining us. Michelle chimes in saying in Pittsburgh, where, Pennsylvania's trying, but at least in Pittsburgh, it's only a $25 fine for up to 30 grams. Hey, Ellie, thank you. Good to see you. Yes, you did hear me just talk about the debate. Enviromine, I'm going to show your comment, your question. Enviromine asks who the strongest Virginia candidate is, and I have Smoke the Vote open here on my laptop. Not that I need this, but in case someone wants to ask me about a particular House race, that'll be super useful. But for the governor's race, Abigail Spanberger gets an A, and Winsome Earl Sears gets an F. Donna Charles is apparently running, and she's not getting elected, but good job running. She hasn't filled out the survey, so we don't have any position for her. Up for lieutenant governor, we have Ghazala Hashmi, who's currently a senator in Virginia. She gets an A. Then we have John Reed, who's a conservative radio talk show host. He gets an F. He can't be bothered to fill out the survey either, apparently. Let's see, do we have any comments from him? Oh, okay, these are some wild. All right, I do see some comments from John. Let's see. He says, I keep getting these long fundraising letters from Virginia Democrats who are obsessed with marijuana issues. I'm signed up for Democrat emails as Mrs. Carla Marks. No one seems to get it. I mean, it's a stupid joke, so okay, sure. Good job, buddy. Then he goes on to say, is pot really such a key issue for them? Yes. Oh, great. Let's move this comment up to the top. I personally think this legalization is going to be a health and cultural disaster, leading to a violent pot black market and more potheads who can't work to support themselves. Tent City 101, graduation to harder drugs. But hey, what do I know? Having watched great people around me ruin their lives with recreational drugs over and over for a few decades. Is this something so important for them and their voters? With everything happening in America and the world, making it super easy to be stoned is the priority. I'm embarrassed for them and fearful of their priorities. Wow. Okay. That is from Facebook. Thank you to whatever intern dug that absolute gem of a comment up for us. Appreciate it. Good work. Can't wait to see who that was. You're my new favorite intern because this is comedy gold. Remember, friends, I hope you can maintain a job and aren't blowing everything up just because you happen to be an adult use or perhaps even a medical cannabis consumer. I'm not sure where this guy or the previous candidate draws the line, but wild. Yeah, okay, so we got some great things from them. Let's move on to the attorney generals in Virginia. The candidates there, we have Jay Jones, who was a former member of the legislature. He received an A. He has done a lot of work as a member of the legislature, helping to move cannabis issues. And then we have the Republican candidate is Jason Miyares. He gets a D. So Jason was a member of the Virginia legislature, and he had opportunity to vote on some medical cannabis bills. So that's how he achieves the super high grade of a D. But it would be a problem for you, Virginia, if you had an attorney general who was opposed to cannabis regulation while you're trying to stand up an adult use market. That would be really problematic because there will be litigation when the market opens. Yeah, so those are the three statewide candidates. And, if you want to look at Smoke the Vote and find out more for yourself, perhaps about the candidates on your ballot for your House Delegates representative, you can find that at vote.normal.org. Just put in your address and all of your stuff will pop up for you. Hey, Fried Mouse. And so thanks for asking, Environment. And thank you, Hello, Fried Mouse in Minneapolis. Tom, I bet that transcription was difficult. Hey, Verdant Square Network. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Oh, Kim. Kim says, okay, wow, Kim, you had problems voting? I mean, I don't know. It's Harrisonburg, so it's questionable, but I hope they counted your ballot. Woof. Oh, good. You checked. Perfect. Well, I hope your ballot was entered correctly as well. Hey, old school growers, VA from Roanoke. Good to see you. All right, friends. Let's dive into what's up for this week. Can I even share these with you? Okay, let's start at the beginning of the week because some things happened. Thanks, Tom. I'm going to use your article. Hey, Vayasu. See if I can share this. All right. Here's, I love your comment. I'm not going to show it, but that's hilarious. Okay, I'm sorry to everyone who's watching on Instagram where I cannot share these links with you, but you can find it on marijuanamoment.net. They did a great job covering a commission meeting here in Virginia that we had on Monday. So there is a commission, this is a body of legislators that meets in between legislative sessions, called the interim. So we're in the interim now, and the commission has this really long, silly name. They like to, we call other things joint commission, but of course this one is called the Joint Commission to oversee the transition of whatever into a retail market. So Oversight Commission met on Monday, and I had been asked to present. Another one of my colleagues who has worked in cannabis policy for a really long time also was asked to present. She's an independent contractor, owns her own consultancy. She presented. And then my other colleague, who's a forensic toxicologist, has a lab at Virginia Commonwealth University and is one of the top forensic toxicologists for cannabis in the United States. She also presented. And then there were two other people that I'm not particularly familiar with. One was from New York and one was, I think, from California or something. Maybe I asked him if he was from Colorado, and then he said something else, and I think he said California. Anyhow, those people presented, but I don't know them. The focus of the meeting was supposed to be on the medical cannabis program because that's part of the expansion of adult use in any state that expands from medical to adult use, and it's no different in Virginia. So I did present on that, and we largely were trying to have a conversation with the lawmakers to sort of catch them up on the reality of the sort of landscape of medical cannabis policy in Virginia and how it got where it is. You can read more about it thank you, Ellie. You can read more about it on Marijuana Moments coverage is excellent, marijuanamoment.net. Scroll down till you see the Virginia piece. And I think it went well. The next meeting is December 2nd. Thank you, Richard, for calling out that it's about to be 420. Appreciate that. Yeah, so that was a big thing in Virginia on Monday. And then last night, Virginia NORML hosted a fundraiser down in Virginia Beach, and I gave another presentation to a room full of folks about what they can expect in 2026 and what they need to do in Virginia to make sure they can get retail sales across the finish line. Let's see. Let's do this one. Let's do THC beverages. Not that THC beverages story, Tom, another one. So here we go. Let me see if I can share this with you all here. Again, if you're on Instagram, you won't get these links. My apologies, but you can find all of these on the NORML website. Go to norml.org, click on the news section, and you'll see these news stories there. You also see a few other stories on the front page, which is sort of the blog content. If you don't want to go looking for these, I'd love to just send them to you. These stories are going out tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock Eastern time. So if you want these in your inbox, super simple. Go to the NORML website, norml.org, put your email and subscribe to our emails. Make sure you check the weekend weed read box so you always get the Saturday edition as well. And these stories will be in there tomorrow. But this story is about THC beverage consumers. So there was a study done, and this study involved surveying THC beverage consumers. So like beverages infused with THC, right? So we're all talking about the same thing here. And interestingly, over 56% of those surveyed acknowledged that they, since beginning to drink these THC beverages, that they consume either slightly less or much less alcohol after trying these beverages. Looks like pollsters surveyed 1,066 respondents aged 21 and older. Pretty interesting. This is, we go on to talk about how in some separate survey data that were published last year, 60% of cannabis consumers say that their marijuana use results in less frequent alcohol consumption. How is it for you? Like if you're a cannabis consumer, do you think you drink more or less alcohol because of your cannabis consumption? Let me know in the comments. Let me know. Let me survey you right now. There's a whole lot of buzzing going on over here. Hey, Mike. Welcome. Good to see you. Let's just go down. Let's just go down this list right here. We should have talked about Missouri. Oh, let's talk about Florida first. Good news. Good news. Great news out of Florida. That's not something you get to say a lot. And as someone who was born in Florida, I think it's okay for me to say that. Let me grab this link and paste it for those of you who can see them. Here we go. Quinn, settle down. Let me get there, my dude. Okay. In Florida, the second court, the second district court of appeal ruled that police may no longer conduct a vehicle search based solely on the claim that they smell weed. We had to legislate that in Virginia. Maybe it's better that we legislated it. We didn't have to go through the courts, but the courts, at least the second district court of appeal, did in fact make that ruling. But this is still anticipated to be appealed in the state Supreme Court. So we'll be keeping our eyes on that. Oh, wow. So we have someone on Instagram who says, I'm completely green and sober. Proud of it. Right at 14 years, no alcohol or any other harmful substances. Good for you, friend. Someone else on Instagram says, I absolutely drink less. Quinn, I was just kidding. It's fine. Yeah, so they did the same in Illinois. They did the same in Delaware, Maryland, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, and Vermont. Courts in Delaware, Maryland, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, and Vermont. Other states have done it without having to go through the courts. Got another person says, yes, I'm an alcoholic. I refrain from drinking alcohol. Thanks to God and cannabis. Good for you, friend. Chris, we do love good news, don't we? It's hard to come by right now. Someone else stopped alcohol 1 year. Great. Another person, I consume no other prescription substances. Oh, missed one up here. I never drink. I smoke because my dad was an alcoholic and cannabis doesn't disable you like that. True. Okay. I think that Coletta, I'm looking at your post, and is that related to the Okay. Someone made a comment on Facebook, and I think it might be related to the comment that we saw earlier on Instagram asking about social media problems for cannabis related pages. And then there were a few examples right here, some of them Catalyst, Golden State Banana, Beard Bros, and their backup pages, and more in just the past 24 hours. It happens so often that it is trending after events like the Verdant meeting in Anaheim. So these are plant touching companies that are having their content taken down. That sucks for them. I'll ask around. Hey, Tom, what have you heard? Are you still watching? Answer. Let me know. Text me or put it in the chat. Wow, a lot of you are chiming in. This is great. Alcohol was killing me and cannabis saved my life. Okay, thank you. Oh, thank you, Coletta, for moving it over. It's easier for me to see the comments over here on Facebook because it's integrated. Ian's page, like Ian Rasman, and what? Hey, Simple DFW in Fort Worth. Hi. I missed you earlier. Sorry. Hey, John in Cleveland. Welcome back. Look, who said Tennessee? Mike, you said Tennessee. Tennessee needs our help. Tennessee needs a lot of help. But what Tennessee really needs, and I say this with all the love in my heart, Tennessee needs to stop electing people who are terrible on cannabis policy. If you don't elect people who support policies you want to see, then you're not going to get them, or it just becomes a lot more difficult to get them. I will say, speaking of Tennessee, there is a special election on December 2nd in Tennessee. This is for the U.S. House of Representatives, District 7. So you have an opportunity to at least influence your congressional representation for Tennessee. But you have a terrible legislature. Yeah. Nonetheless, if there's cannabis legislation introduced in Tennessee for 2026, we will have that in our Take Action Center, and we will have the action alerts for you to contact your lawmakers in support of good bills and in opposition to terrible ones. I am going to go look. Thank you for sharing those with me. I'm going to share this for everyone because John was the first one to say it. John says happy Croptober to everyone. Ooh, James in Chicago. That's rough, buddy. Thanks for joining us today, James. I'll show your comment. James says, thanks for fighting the good fight. Someone from the Chicago area smoking illegal herb and watching our city be invaded. Like I said, that doesn't sounds like not the best time. I'm glad cannabis is legal in Illinois. Yeah, Quinn, I agree. Quinn says Louisiana also needs help with legalization, but voters here will never elect intelligent people to office. Yeah, again, I cannot stress this enough, which is why we have Smoke the Vote for you. If you don't elect people who are good on cannabis policy, you will not get good cannabis policy. Now, yes, you can do lots of work to help persuade people who are living in a different century than you and I are, but it's a lot easier to just not elect them. Whoever's representing you, whether you voted for them or not, please be sure you are signed up to receive their emails. So everyone from your US senator to your most local representative, even your, city council member or board of supervisors member, get all those people, get on their lists. It will be annoying for you, but that way you know when they're having events. And you can go to them and talk to them about this issue. And I have found that if you go to speak about this issue, you can often be more influential if you limit your concern to a singular issue. Show up for many events, whether you like them or not. I'm not saying donate, but they have, non-fundraiser type events. Go to them, go to where they are and talk to them. But if this is already can be such a controversial issue for some conservative lawmakers, and I have found that they're less likely to write you off if they think that you are just here to talk about this one issue that's important to you and not to come at them with a bunch of issues that they oppose or have oppositional views on. Does that make sense? Hey, Brian. Hey, Kim. Kim asks, Is NORML doing anything to speak against Schedule 3? No. No, we're not. Kim, we've done two podcasts episodes on rescheduling. In fact, the last episode that we recorded, I think, was the rescheduling update in September, but you can find it. You're watching on Facebook. You can find it on NORML's Facebook. You can find it on our YouTube. You can find it on Spotify. And we talk about why we're not oppositional to this and what it really means. And there's the rescheduling process, and then there's what actually needs to happen. What actually needs to happen is Americans need to elect a Congress that will pass a bill to end prohibition. Again, America, you are not electing people who support your purported values. If you survey Americans, they overwhelmingly support ending prohibition, but you have a Congress that does not. See the problem? So in order to end prohibition, to make marijuana not Schedule 1, to make it not scheduled at all, the way the government is supposed to work is that needs to be a bill passed by Congress that is then signed by the president. Then there's the rescheduling process was initiated by the Biden administration. This is the 5th rescheduling process that's occurred. None of them have gone anywhere, have resulted in rescheduling so far. And this one is sort of stalled out, and it's been in this sort of stalled position since the current administration took office earlier this year. Now, why isn't this a particular concern? Because moving marijuana to Schedule 3 doesn't really change anything from the consumer standpoint. From a state licensed operator standpoint, it could be really good news. Those businesses could be able to finally take standard tax deductions, like all businesses do, except for them. They cannot take standard business tax deductions, which is one of the reasons why cannabis prices are so artificially inflated, because normally a business has tax deductions and they don't have it. So whenever there are business costs, those ultimately get passed on to the consumer. There's also this notion that if marijuana is moved from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, that means it's giving it to big pharma. Let's be super clear on this, okay? This is about botanical cannabis. It's not about extracts, it's about botanical cannabis. And the FDA regulates prescription drugs. A plant does not have the ability to meet the criteria for an FDA-approved drug. So botanical cannabis is not going to be available by prescription. That is not part of this equation. Anyone who's telling you that does not understand this. We've been party to numerous rescheduling processes. We do know this. It is not, you're not going to be able to go get prescription pre-rolls at CVS if marijuana is moved to Schedule 3. It also doesn't make research easier. Also, the idea that we need to make research easier. I mean, sure, that's great for R&D. Cannabis is one of the most researched substances on earth. If the federal government were actually functioning, and you could go to pubmed.gov and look at the nation's repository for peer-reviewed studies, you would see over 50,000 entries that reference cannabis or one of its constituents. We are not lacking for research on cannabis, but also rescheduling it to 3 doesn't make research easier, because the restrictions that are in place at the federal level aren't about whether or not the drug is in Schedule 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. They are specific to marijuana. So those would need to be undone in order for research to actually be made easier. And then what else? The other popular one is that if you move marijuana to Schedule 3, that disrupts the entire regulated cannabis industry. It doesn't. The cannabis industry right now that is operating throughout the United States, employing over 400,000 people, that cannabis industry is operating in conflict with federal law. Every state that has an operational cannabis industry is doing so in opposition to federal law. If marijuana is under Schedule 1. If marijuana is Schedule 3, everything will be the same. They will still be in conflict with federal law. Someone please explain to me why you think that then suddenly the federal government would be like, you know what? Now that the penalty is less, we want to somehow intervene. There's like way too much conspiracy theory nonsense around this. I hope I answered your questions. Please watch our podcast. No, we're not oppositional to rescheduling. No, I don't. That's my personal opinion. Coletta says, do you believe our current administration will deschedule? Be honest, please. No, I do not. And I don't believe that because of the things that they say. That's why. The current head of the DEA is the former Secretary of Homeland Security and Public Safety here in Virginia, and he's a staunch prohibitionist. He, in fact, the other day, remember how they said remember how the president said he was going to have an update on rescheduling in a few weeks? Well, many, many weeks later, we got an update that said nothing. That said the update is we have no update because the appeal process that's been open is still open. So no. And then you've got all of the crazy prohibitionist rhetoric that you hear from people of that administration. So no, I don't think they're going to. No, I don't. I'm just going to leave it at that. James, thank you. Thank you. Whoops, sorry. James says, don't forget to like the video so the algorithm shows it to more people. Thank you. Wherever you're watching, please hit that like, follow, or subscribe button so you never miss when NORML goes live, and you're helping to boost our content. That's advocacy. You can do that, and that can be how you engage in advocacy today. Let me scroll up and get a couple of these other comments. Coletta, I'm going to show this because I love it. Coletta says we're constantly being lied to by people who are blowing smoke up our butts, telling us they advocate for descheduling and then switch up. Politicians can no longer be trusted. I mean, generally, that's the rule. All right, I'm going to just keep reading Coletta's comments, apparently. Coletta says, with all due respect, like right now, we just keep giving each other civic lessons on what should or could happen. We all have this working knowledge. I mean, we all don't. I mean, we do, but we all do not, which is kind of why we are where we are. But we sound like a broken record. Agreed. I feel like I say the same things over and over, and that's fine because not everyone watches the same show. What action are we in the industry actively doing? And I'm excluding NORML because we're not part of the industry. We're a nonprofit. We are not funded by the industry. We'd happily take support from the industry, but the industry is not fueling our work. Our work is powered overwhelmingly by grassroots small dollar donors. I'm talking $20 small dollar donors. We are not part of we are not a financial beneficiary of the cannabis machine that rides on our coattails. That's just the reality of it. So what are we doing? I don't know what the industry is doing. Probably lobbying and writing checks. They're not to us, but to somebody. What we are doing is providing information to the public at zero cost to them. We're providing a voter guide to everybody about cannabis policy for free. We have a huge informational website that, again, free. And we have our Take Action Center. I'm not trying to be flippant. This is serious. We have our Take Action Center that has the ability for any citizen in the United States to, with just a few clicks, really easy clicks, send an email to their lawmakers about cannabis policies at the state and federal level. So that's how we are doing it. We are trying to make sure that people know about this, know about the impacts to them, sort of pulling the curtain back so that everyone can understand how the process, whatever it is, whether it's, federal descheduling, rescheduling, state legislation, we're trying to make that information accessible and easily digestible to people so that they can engage in meaningful advocacy that affects reform. What I would like to see is the industry donate to NORML to help sustain our work. Ma'ams, hello. Yes. You're late. That's okay. Welcome, friend. What's up with the new background? I have a new office. It's currently very blue. It might be a different color next time. Probably not next time, but maybe one day soon will be slightly less blue in here. Yeah, okay, Billy. Billy, coming in for the win. Billy says if people want legalization in their state, they have to get involved and take calculated risks. Yes. Like running for office themselves, or organizing marches that respect the law. I mean, maybe the marches can be a great way to feel good about something, but I don't think that with this particular issue they've affected change. But still, organize in ways that are effective, whatever that feels like for you. Billy goes on to say, you don't have to win. You intelligently bring about conversation and set an example that the stereotype cannabis user is not correct. Yes, absolutely. Take risks, people. Get involved. Organize with others. Great, great suggestions, Billy. Thank you so much. That's fair. Please do what Billy said. And I think you bring up a really interesting point there, and one I've talked about a lot before. This issue is difficult, particularly for conservative lawmakers. And it's still, even if they don't care about it, it's still a serious issue that deserves attention and respect. And it can be really difficult for really difficult for lawmakers to focus on what you're saying, the issue at hand, when they're too preoccupied with how you look. And I know that sounds like really superficial because it is, but it's the truth of the matter. So I do think that if you're going to go talk to lawmakers, I'm not saying you have to wear a suit every time, but sort of take the temperature of the environment you're going to be in. And if you're talking to them, at a barbecue, then you probably don't need to wear a suit. But if you're talking to them at the legislature, then, wear some work appropriate attire. Don't smell like weed. Those are like just basic. They're going to be more emotionally comfortable with you when you look like them or similar to them. Sure, I look like very few lawmakers, but you can do it. It's a lot more effective when they're not sizing you up and thinking thoughts about you already. Just like you're going to a job interview is my suggestion. Dr. Kaplan, I see your comment that says except for botanicals, and it's out of context for me in this stream. So if you want to clarify what you were, please do. Because I have all the comments mixed together from all the different pages. So I'm seeing yours after Facebook, and then after you was YouTube, and I don't know what this belongs to. James, I'm trying to read your comment about. Oh, yeah. I mean, you bring up some valid points here. James says it was legalized in Chicago. but shops still sell that, what they call 50 state legal hemp derived synthetic cannabinoids. Official weed stores, dispensaries have prices comparable to the street if you add 20% for tax. And the only thing that changed here, you find carts of disposables in the street and not just nicotine vapes. I mean, it'd be great if we didn't find anything in the street because there's trash cans and people could use those. That'd be fun. Kim, we haven't changed. That's the thing. Kim says, wow, NORML has certainly changed. Thank you for clarifying your position. We haven't changed at all. That's always been our position. That's always been our position. Paul's been here for over 30 years, so. Quinn asked, would rescheduling ease banking restrictions? It could. All of these things are an it could. We believe the answer is likely to be yes, but there's still uncertainty, particularly given the current state of the federal government. But in like the real world, yes. In the real world, the way things are supposed to work, then yes. We do believe that it would ease banking restrictions and allow for tax deductions. No, we're not anything. Kim, we're a nonpartisan organization. How long do we have to wait for Dems to do something? I don't know. I'm not in charge of the Democrats, and so NORML is anti-Trump. We don't do presidential endorsements. If he says something stupid about marijuana, then we're going to report that. If he says something great about marijuana, we're going to report that too. Coletta, you're in Florida. Yeah. How do you join in Florida? So there are two. Where are you in Florida? I'm sorry, I'm like 8 minutes behind in questions. So there's NORML of Florida, and Karen is the executive director there, and I think she's like in the southern part of the state. And then there is Tallahassee NORML. That's Melissa, obviously in Tallahassee. And then there's Suncoast NORML, and that's like Tampa. You can find them all on our website, norml.org/chapters. Oof, that's rough. No, Coletta, it's all good. Quinn, I'm just going to show your comment and scroll for a second. Okay, Fried Mouse, thanks so much. Fried Mouse says, without NORML, there wouldn't be legal consumption and no industry. They should be chipping in. You're correct. Absolutely. And I will tell you the first slide in my presentation that wasn't like, here's me and here's NORML, the like intro into it that I gave on Monday to the legislature. There is no cannabis industry without cannabis consumers, and consumers deserve representation, and that is who we represent, and we are the only organization that exclusively represents the interests of cannabis consumers. Business organizations are a dime a dozen. If someone has business issues, go to one of those. We represent consumers. Bennett, thank you. I moved to a new office. That's the only part that's set up. Just that, like immediately beyond those socks is a hot mess of nonsense. And immediately beyond that cabinet is train wreck. Thank you. Thank you. Brian, I think you were talking about, I think your comment says, and I suspect old hippie looking, I think you're talking about going to interface with lawmakers, and yes. Yeah, absolutely. You're already fighting stigma, so it's just a lot easier to, I found it easier to just button up and give them less to be challenged by. A lot of them are already challenged with what they're seeing. Brian, I like your comment. I'm not going to show that because someone's going to yell at me. Okay, great. Thank you, Coletta. Yes, Tallahassee NORML is Melissa. She's great. Please connect with her. We got off on a tangent. Let me y'all are great today. Let me look over here and tell I have a couple other news stories. Low profile. Yeah, indeed. Get a blend in. Look like a regular person. Don't blow it up. For those of you who were here earlier. All right, we talked about Florida. Let's talk about Missouri. That's a state. They did not have great news. We don't have great news out of, oh, yeah, Quinn, I'll bring that up to you. Thank you. That was last week, but I didn't do a show. I'm going to bring this over here. Missouri Supreme Court ruled that, well, it was actually last week, but they ruled on what marijuana offenses are eligible to be expunged. So when Missouri legalized adult use, that legalization law included marijuana expungements. And of course, this was challenged and went all the way to the Supreme Court of Missouri. Because, why would we do what voters want when we can just go against the will of the voters and substitute our own opinions? Which is what the court arguably is doing here. I'm going to read a quote from my buddy Dan Vietz, who's on the NORML board of directors and leads Missouri NORML. Dan says this: the Missouri Supreme Court majority is clearly substituting its personal preferences for the will of the voters expressed in plain language of the initiative. This decision is an example of the court engaging in an extreme form of judicial activism. It is clearly abusing its authority by ignoring the expressed intent of the voters. You can read this story and more from Dan in the news section of the NORML website at norml.org/news, or you can just let me mail it to you in the morning. Go to our website and sign up for email, and you'll get it. So I pasted in there. I did. And it's not even legislators, Richard. It's the court. It's the Supreme Court in Missouri. Michigan. Thank you for bringing that up. We didn't do a show. We didn't have a show the week that this happened, but despite receiving, I think it was over 30, it was over 3,000. I'm going to tell you what the exact number is, hopefully in a second. But through our Take Action Center, over 3,000 emails were sent opposing a tax hike in Michigan. So Governor of Michigan had, Whitmer, had proposed this 24% wholesale tax on adult use cannabis products. And 3,127 emails were sent through our platform alone, which is usually where most emails to lawmakers about cannabis laws originate. Despite receiving over 3,000 emails opposing this tax hike, they went ahead and approved it. So until they're paying more for weed in Michigan, I guess. woof. Let's see if I can find that story. Here we go. This is October 3rd is when we wrote about this. It is still at the top of our front page, and I am going to drop that in the comments for you now. Sorry, Instagram. You can find the link to the story on our Instagram, though. I've already published it there. Hey, David. Good to see you, first of all. Second, David asked this question, wasn't Virginia's home cultivation limit originally supposed to be 2, but y'all got it changed to 4? Yes. This is what happens, David. So this was during the Northam administration, and this isn't uncommon when we're working on a huge piece of legislation that touches a lot of code sections. We had a spreadsheet for the bill, and this was the patrons of the bills, because there's a House and Senate version. There's the patrons of the bill, their staff, me, the administration, probably some lobbyists, had access to this spreadsheet, so that in the Department of Legislative Services, so that we could compare sort of the side by side of where these sections were, and then offer comments. And we're sort of at the end of the road here. We're getting the bill's finalized. We're moving it along, and in the personal cultivation section, they had said, the Northam administration had drafted it this way, not us, and said it would be 2 mature plants and 2 immature plants. And I just went in the column and put 4 plants and just changed it to 4 plants and said, who's going into someone's house to measure plants? And that was the only argument that was needed. And now you have 4 plants, so you're welcome. Thanks for asking. James, let me mention this. James is talking about like these synthetic cannabinoids and calling it weed light and what people call it. And the point you're making, he says, it's honestly not as bad as everyone says. It's specific. It's just too specific. So when we talk about products that are like Delta 8, and I'm talking about unregulated products. These are products you buy at smoke shops or CBD stores or online. I'm not talking about products that you have to purchase from behind a counter in a state licensed cannabis dispensary for medical or adult use. We're not talking about that. James and I are talking about this other stuff that you see at the gas station or whatever. These are synthetic cannabinoids. The problem isn't that it's synthetic. I mean, it is for some of them, and we can talk about this separately. Problem isn't that these products are created, that it's not that they contain a synthetic cannabinoid. It's that they aren't, you don't know what's in it. That's at the end of the day, you don't know what's in it. It's not, there's nothing wrong with the molecule Delta 8, but what there is something wrong with is when you have other contaminants in that product. And you don't know as a consumer if there are contaminants in that product unless a product is subject to regulatory oversight. Like, I'm generally certain when I pick up my phone that it's not going to explode in my face because it's subject to safety standards. I have water in here. It's usually what I use. There's water in this can and it smells like strawberries, and I don't think I'm fairly confident it does not contain arsenic or lead because the FDA regulates that. Those other products aren't regulated, so you don't know what's in them. And, maybe that's a risk you're willing to take. I'm not. Why can't I close my fridge? Here we go. Anyhow, thanks for bringing that up. It's not the cannabinoid itself, unless we start talking about THCP, THCO, and HHC. Those are not meant for you to consume. Great. Bennett says, we have a new meeting for the South Dakota Cannabis Committee coming up October 22nd. Let me know if there's anything we can do to support you. Do you need anything? Let me know. Hi, it's what? Welcome back. You want to vote for 20 plants? Yeah, like it was, we have It's for plants. It's not size. It's just for plants. Grow them as big as you want. Also, you can keep, there's no limit on what you can keep at home in Virginia. Again, you're welcome. As long as it's for personal use, you can have it. Brandon, this is a fantastic question. Brandon asks, when is Trump going to make his decision on rescheduling? They just had a supposed update in which they said there's no update. The appeal is still open. So it's just still sitting there on pause. Your guess is as good as ours. Well, it's not actually up to him. I mean, I guess as to whether or not the process continues or is restarted, but it's not even a real administration, so who knows? What's the plant count in Missouri? Oh, I lost you and I don't care. I love when people come in with some kooky comments and then they have to get banned by. I know, right? What was Gretchen thinking? So disappointing. Can you imagine you got 3,000 constituent emails? That's a lot. 3,000. And you're like, no, I'm going to do what I want. It's fine. You're right. We have this comment here that says politicians need to understand the citizens hired them to represent citizens, not to be our overlords or parents. Right, but when you let them treat you, not you personally, but if the constituency allows them to continue, and they do, let them treat you like that. It's terrible. Richard says Michigan business owners are suing the state. I love that for them. Ooh, I don't know who this is, but you can't hustle your weird Facebook groups in here, so goodbye to you. Goodbye to you, ooh. Sorry for you people who are getting spammed by these wacko bots. Let's see if I can delete them from here. Hi, kind Idaho. Welcome back. No, Madam Maru, it used to be functional. It's not anymore. 12 feet tall. Exactly, Brian. Who's measuring plants? And you have regular seeds. You know, I think people can figure it out. Virginia, you've only given us so much to work with in the legislature, and there's only so far we can take this. We have asked that question before. Sorry, I'm going to show everybody else's comment, but the one I want. Ellie, we have asked that question before, haven't we, about what was Gretchen thinking? David, yes, I did talk about that. So David asked, did y'all already talk about the cannabis part of Virginia's debate last night? I did at the very beginning of the show. I thought it was weird that they gave them, sorry. I thought it was weird that they gave them two different questions on the same issue. And it's, to me, Abigail got a much more nuanced question versus the softball that they lobbed at Winsome, which is like, the governor vetoed these bills, would you sign it? And then she goes off the rails talking about how people are going to, if adult use retail is legalized, then people are going to blow things up at work. Okay. She understands marijuana is legal in Virginia right now, I assume. Probably not. And then Abigail was asked some question about the police and marijuana, and she did a good job. Oh, she was talking about some question about transparency. I don't know. Like her question was, I've only listened to it once, but it was far more nuanced than the softball they lobbed it. Win some, lose some, and which is fine. She was prepared to answer that question, but also what was the worst part about it is that she couldn't answer the question because win some, lose some is over there shouting literally at every time Abigail got asked a question, like, grow up and shut up. How rude can you be? You're the lieutenant governor of a state right now, Winsome. Why are you behaving like a petulant child on stage? You know, when you let the other person talk and then you get your turn. So embarrassing. I mean, uh, seeds don't. James is giving some good advice there in the comments. Oh, no, not really, Coletta. Not really. No. Texas is Texasing. Well, you know who's a great resource for things about hemp, which is arguably not what we do at NORML, is Marijuana Moment. Here's what I can tell you. What's DPS? Is that public safety? Governor Abbott has directed Texas DPS to increase enforcement on hemp products. The goal is to protect children from dangerous hemp products. I mean, he's not wrong. They adopted new guidelines. Oh, okay. So their guidelines are the first rule adopted prohibits the sale of consumable hemp products to minors. The fact that you had to adopt a rule for that is insane. Second, the second one mandates age verification for selling the products as a whole. How weren't you doing that before? Ew. Can't sell near schools, churches, or other sensitive locations. Enhanced testing and increased fees. Essentially, Texas is legalizing unregulated marijuana. That's my take on that. But calling it hemp so they don't have to call it marijuana because feelings are hard. Science isn't. Brandon, are you talking about Virginia? Let's just assume you're asking about Virginia, Brandon, in which case the answer is Abigail Spanberger and only Abigail Spanberger. Winsome Sears will veto a measure. Full stop. Samuel, welcome back. I'm glad I've been letting this show drag on for way too long so I could see you. Coletta, what was I doing? Oh, Texas. There I did it again. Because it's such a wild state. Right, so about Texas, will that business model become the standard across the country? Yes. In states that have failed to adopt a comprehensive regulatory model for marijuana, then yes, we are seeing these sort of half-assed regulatory rules. Let's just call it rules. Oh no, look, the need for consumer safety is not determined by the amount of THC in a product that you set on fire and inhale. And that's the grift, right? Is that you're calling it hemp, so that somehow is supposed to imply it has less THC than cannabis does. But it doesn't. First of all, we all can see with our own eyes that these products claim to have the same amount of THC, but they're not regulated in the same way, and that puts consumers at risk. You deserve to know what you're buying. You deserve to buy clean products that aren't, full of mycotoxins or other bodily fluids and parts, as we saw in a presentation on Monday, or contaminants from the synthesization process that when they create these synthetic cannabinoids. If they're not cleaned up, you could get some dangerous contaminants in there. You know? That's your whole town, sensitive locations. Carlita, thank you so much for sharing this. I really appreciate you being here and letting us know. Carlita says Oklahoma has 25 days left to gather signatures for their adult use ballot referendum. I'm going to see if I can get a link real quick to share with everyone. Of course, the first thing that comes up is something I don't want. I want to link to it. Oklahomans for Responsible Cannabis Action. There we go. I got a Facebook page. That's what I can give you, friends. I can give you a Facebook page. That's what it is. Here we go. If you are watching on Instagram, you're going to want to look for ORCA, like the whale. ORCA, which is Oklahomans for Responsible Cannabis Action. Oh, okay, good. I found a website that just goes back to their, no, here it is. I found their real website. It's ORCA for, okay, ORCA number 4, okay.com. And then you can get your signature. You can make sure you sign a ballot or help collect signatures. Go do that. Get involved. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Carlita. I appreciate it. Oh, good. Quinn said Colorado kicked out a company that was allowing contaminants in their product. Hey, David. David asks about Virginia. Is it going to be licenses in fall 26 and sales in May 27? I think we're still waiting for CCA. I don't know if they're giving us a specific date. It's going to be as soon as is feasible for CCA, and that's what the conversation is about. Is how this is a small regulator. They haven't gotten the money for adult use because the bills have been vetoed. So there's a lot of ramping up they have to do to get into this, and they don't get lead time for that. They can't ramp up in advance of it. So it's largely dependent upon how quickly CCA can get staffed up and ready to, but probably pretty similar, I'll let you know as soon as I know. Mm. Coletta says, warning, if you are here and you distribute packaging that is, quote, child attractive, I fully support that packaging should change. Why do the adults need packaging that looks like candy? I mean, what you don't need is what's illegal is when you use another brand, like when you try to rip off, Sour Patch Kids or Oreos or Doritos. That's super common in these nasty unregulated products. That's illegal. We actually passed a law about counterfeit products, even though it's federally illegal. We passed a state law about that here. But yeah, like be responsible in your cannabis packaging. And if your state, I think most states now have requirements that products not be appealing to children. We support that. Kind Idaho, I love your attitude. I hope Idaho's next too. Something tells me probably not. Hey, Candid Cannabud, see your comment. Sorry if it's been a minute. But yeah, Texas is just Texas. And then they go on to say, don't forget the sprayed on terps. Yum, yum. All right. I think that we've had a really long show and I'm probably got to go home. So did I tell you all the things? I did do you all the news this week that we had to talk about was, I missed one and it's real. I'll just do it real quick. So there were some clinical trials. There were 2 clinical trials. I think it was, no, 6 clinical trials. There were 6. Okay. So Brazilian researchers looked at the data from 6 different clinical trials. Into 6 different clinical trials. And this is about cannabis and sleep. And what they determined from these clinical trials is that cannabis formulations that are dominant in THC and CBN were associated with improved sleep quality, but, and this is the very interesting part about that, that formulations with CBD alone did not demonstrate a statistically significant improvement. I think that's interesting because you're always hearing about, CBD for whatever, CBD for sleep. And this is 6 clinical trials that are saying THC and CBN. There's probably something to that, particularly given that people are out there buying these CBD products for sleep, and very often those products that are called CBD still have THC in them. Why? Oh, because they're wholly unregulated. Sleep, what's that? I know. I can sleep when I'm dead. Oh. Thanks, everyone. This has been a lot of fun. I hope you all have a great weekend. I hope if you happen to be fortunate enough to have Monday off, you're getting to enjoy a long 3-day weekend. And before we say goodbye, please hit that like, follow, or subscribe button so you never miss when NORML goes live. And Quinn, I see you doing my job for me. I love it. Quinn mentions our survey. Oh, Quinn, first of all, thank you for taking the survey. And I hate to disappoint you, but that $100 is a $100 gift certificate to NORML web store, which you might win, my friend. Now, if you do, they're going to be like, oh, you're just giving it to Quinn. Anyhow, I use random.org for that drawing. We have a survey at NORML, and we would love to hear from you. Let me grab the link to it right here. I'm glad the website, WordPress was being so weird earlier today. It seems to have gotten itself back together. Here you go. Here's the survey link. If you are watching on Instagram, you can find the link to the survey on our Instagram. You can also find it right on the front page at normal.org twice. But please take our survey. And if you fill out the survey before November or by November 15th, then you'll be entered into our drawing to win a $100 normal store gift card. Please and thank you. Take that survey. Good looking out for you, James, in Chicago. We'll trade gift card. Perfect. Susie, I'm happy to see you too, but our show's over now. Sorry, my friend. Guess what? If you are just tuning in now and we're getting ready to leave, we're going to do this again. And you can always rewatch this show anytime on NORML's YouTube, on NORML's Facebook, on NORML's Spotify. So do that. Where's all my stuff? There it is. This has been great. Thank you for joining us. I love hanging out with you all. You're fun, and I always leave here in a better mood than when it started. I hope you'll have a great weekend. I'm J.M. Pedini, the Development Director here at NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. This has been great, and as always, I will see you right back here next time. Bye-bye.